Hi, good morning. Hi, it's Michael here. I'm starting a new series. Let me tell you how this all came about first and foremost and tell you what it's focused on. It is focused on depression. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and major depression and anxiety, metabolic syndrome, whatever. And over the past almost now going on 3.5 years, I've been trying different techniques. I've went on medications. I've tried holistically. I have sought advice, went to therapy, etc., etc., etc. And recently, actually this past week, I found myself back in a depressive state. I got rejected for something, and it just devastated me. And it got me to thinking about, who I was, what I wanted to be, blah, 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 blah. And while in the midst of this depression, I had this idea that while talking to friends and family, because a lot of people that I know deal with this issue, but we don't talk about it. A lot of us, oftentimes, we don't know the extent of, or even that they have it. Like a lot of my friends are like, "Oh yeah, I have this problem. I have this problem," and I'm like, "I didn't even know." And I'm telling my friends about it, and they're like, "I didn't even know," and I'm like, "You know what? We need to work on that just a little bit." So the object of this is to get people talking, get people understanding, first off, what depression is, and then focusing on what we can do to feel better. I hate saying feel better, but to shift our paradigms and our viewpoints, to use different techniques and ideas. I've actually got this super deluxe recommendation of what I could do, which I'm excited to try. And that's going to be coming up later on in the series, probably day 16, because after all, this is 30 days. So we'll be covering a wide myriad of topics from what depression is, you have it, what do you do, you know, products and ideas that you can use, meditations, books, uh, taking responsibility for our depression, because that's a very, very key and important thing to understand. And I'll say it's off the bat. Ultimately, we're responsible for everything. It may not be our fault, but we're responsible. And that's something that we need to come into, and that's something we need to learn to accept, and we need to learn to embrace a little bit. Also, we're also going to cover the fact that depression is rooted in fear, and we're going to work on how to be brave, how to be powerful, and how to be empowered, and get these tools together. Because right now, I'm still in the middle of depression, and so we're going to get these tools together. We're going to figure all this out. Now, the question is, well, what is depression? And what it is like an intense sadness. You feel helpless, hopeless, worthless. And it can last anywhere from a few days or weeks, months, sometimes years. And it's hard. It's hard. Depression can be caused by different things. It could be a biological disposition. You can just have clinical depression. You could be bipolar like me. You, your dog could have died, and it just made you feel awful. You could have broke up with somebody. For purposes of this conversation, mostly things will be covered or geared more towards people with major depression. However, in this situation, I like to point out to everybody that everybody can learn from this. Everybody can take something from this. Everybody can, maybe you don't know what it is. Maybe you don't understand what depression is, and this can help you. Maybe, again, you may have your dog died and you get over a lot more quickly, but you're curious to see how it affects other people. Go for it. Um, that's the gist of it. And but going through depression, people are like, oh well, you have your depression. So what happens? What do you do? What do you feel like? And honestly, it's hard. There's a lot of people like your moods are really down, especially in the morning. Like I'll tell you right now, I'm not a morning person. People know I'm not the person to come to in the mornings. It's not a good look. You're tired. You lack energy. You feel guilt or worthlessness. You have a hard time concentrating. Your memory actually is affected by it. So you have difficulty making cognitive decisions. Your sleeping is affected. You sleep too much, or you sleep not enough. The things that you used to do don't really give you pleasure anymore. You contemplate death or suicide. Some people actually attempt suicide. Been there, done that. And you feel restless or down. Like some people, like for myself, I pace a lot. Like people have seen me, they say, "Oh, you're always walking around. You're pacing." You does have a lot of restless energy, and you gain or lose weight. I've done both. I've gained 25 pounds. I've lost 12 pounds. I've lost 20 pounds in a month. It just all depends on, where you are on the spectrum. Now, that being said, I want to point out that there's nothing. I don't want to say nothing wrong with you. Of course, we have a different way of processing emotions, different things, and some things are stronger than others. But overall, there's nothing wrong with you. You're okay, and we just need a little help. And there's nothing wrong with needing a little help sometimes. And that's another thing we have to work on, which we'll cover in this series, is our egos. Because a lot of issues that we have with depression are based in two things: ego and fear. And so we're going to work hard to eradicate our fears and work on a healthy ego. Now, I'm saying this to you in the midst of depression. I'm saying this to you in the trenches. I'm saying this to you in the midst of self-discovery. So basically, everything that I'm telling you, I'm also trying myself as we go along. So it's going to be an interesting experience. This is developing. This is the developing process. So things may change. Things may be different. But ultimately, the goal is for us to feel empowered and feel I have our paradigm shift. I refuse to say get better. I refuse to say change. Hate to say new you, because honestly, all these tools are there. All these things are there within inside of ourselves. We just have to kind of find a way to pull it out. And so this is hopefully it starts a conversation that we can have, that we can say, hey, I did this, I did that, I tried this, I tried that, hey, I felt this, I felt that, and get that and get them erase the stigma that because you're depressed, you have depression, something's wrong with you, or that you're weak, or that you're not good enough, because those are things that we hear and feel a lot. And speaking of not feeling good enough, which brings me to my major point of this video, apart from what a depression is when people are depressed or dealing with depression, especially the major types, there's certain things that telling us it's just not a good idea. For instance, I hate being told to cheer up or to smile. If granted, smiling does help, and all those wonderful things, but it's not something that if you're in that state of mind, you necessarily want to hear right away. Oh, just cheer up, you'll get better. It's in your head. It's like some people, yeah, it may work for them, but for others it doesn't. And for some people, especially with depression, again, it comes into this mindset of what you're equipped to handle in that moment and what you're ready to receive. Also, that's the other point in this series. You may not be ready to receive what I have to say to you. That's fine. Take it in your own time. You may do it tomorrow. You may do it the next day. You may do it next year. Who cares? But when you're ready to receive, you receive. And a lot of people don't understand when they give people advice to people who are depressed. More often than not, when they come to you to talk to you, they're not asking you for advice. They want somebody to listen to you. And so, giving like an unsolicited opinion can also be a problem. So, in that respect, listen first, seek to understand, and then be understood. So they're just saying, "Hey, I'm having a rough day." Fine, cool. Let them have the rough day. Let them vent. If you don't understand, because a lot of people don't, ask questions. Ask, well, why? What does this do? How do you feel? Why does this feel this way? And a lot of people, a lot of times, I'm gonna keep it real. Sometimes we just don't know, and that's okay. But don't sit there and tell somebody, oh, you're just being hard on yourself. Oh, you need to just ease up. You need to just feel that emotion for 10 seconds, take a second and just let it go. You need to get over it. You need to, push through. Because honestly, it's for some people, it's just not that simple. And all that does is reinforce this idea in the back of the people's minds that what they're doing isn't good enough. And it causes for a lot of people, myself included, for them to feel worse than they did before they even start speaking to you. That's just what it is. And so, yes, through this video, we do this video series because it's going to be 30 days of blogging and vlogging and talking and sharing and caring and all these wonderful things. I'm hoping that we come to a place where we can feel self-loved and self-accepted, because honestly, it's very important, and that we can get into that set frame of mind where we can claim responsibility for ourselves and for our actions and for our feelings, and how to go about it constructively and learn ourselves along the way. Life's a journey. You learn yourself every day, and you may not have the same mindset that you have in 30 days that you did today. Or I may not have the mindset. I don't have the same mindset today that I did yesterday. But the idea is to just take it day by day. We have something to meditate on, to think about. I actually borrowed this idea from this lovely journal called the Daily Stoics Journal, which I advocate anybody get. It's in Barnes and Noble. It's also on Amazon. It's like $17. It covers all these ideas, and pretty much you get something to meditate on for the day. And I'm not expecting people to change overnight. I'm not even asking to change overnight, but I'm asking you to give this a shot and see what happens for you. No harm in trying. All right, so that being said, I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you tomorrow with day 2, which is so you have depression. Now what? Namaste.